Yo, what's up guys? And today we're going to be talking about the metal box that I was previously talking about. Duraludon Vmax, as you know, is strong. And an Inteleon build is only kind of a niche matchup against Single Strike, Rapid Strike, and Fusion Strike. But if we want to look at a more overall deck that's able to go against hand to hand for about almost every deck, this is the build. In this build, we're going to be checking this out because it's Duraludon Vmax Metal Box. Yo, what's up guys? And today we're going to be going again, looking at this deck profile with Duraludon Vmax Metal Box. So when you're looking at this metal box, you're kind of like, okay, well, this is a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, you're correct. There is a lot of things going on. But that's what makes this deck really good. As you see, I run one Oranguru. If you don't know what Oranguru does, for Primate Wisdom, you can actually switch a card from your hand to the top of your deck. Now, this has synergy with Zacian. And Zacian is going to be kind of like a backup attacker. He's very quick, and he has the ability to Intrepid Sword. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck, attach any number of metal energies you find there to this Pokemon. Put the other cards in your hand, and if you use the ability, your turn ends. So there's the draw off of drawing a card, drawing 3 cards. If you got any metal energies, you can put it on Zacian, but then your turn ends. I like this because Duraludon already has a weird energy cost, and you're not able to, turn 2, go right ahead and start knocking people out. Duraludon takes time. And with Zacian as a quick attacker, you can actually load him up. And turn 1, get 3 metal energies and just start swinging for 220 or 230. Zacian has 220 hit points, so it is kind of like pretty good for a V, but can still be easily knocked out by VMAXs, especially if you're going against Blaziken. And not only that, if you look at our supporters, we run 3 Bird Keepers and 3 Professors Research. There's not a lot of draw power in this, and we don't even have a draw engine on top of that. That's why Zacian is our draw engine, and Intrepid Sword actually helps us get more cards in our hand, and so it's always very important to get Zacian out within your first turn. That way you're not attacking, so you need an Intrepid Sword. That way you can set up a backup attacker, or you can set up all your energies for our next card that I'm going to talk about. Bronzong. Bronzong has the ability called Metal Transfer. As often as you like during your turn, you may move 1 metal energy from one of your Pokemon to another. And you can do that as many times as you want. Now, the reason why this is a metal box is because we run Aurora Energies. And yes, it does work for Aurora Energies. So then you can move that to whoever you want. So you can have a Zacian, do Intrepid Sword, put the 2 metal energies on them, and move it to Duraludon. So that covers the fighting cost of this. Now, you can tech this deck as many ways as you want, but recently I've been going against a lot of lightning decks. So I opt to add Zapdos V. Zapdos V has Fighting Instinct. For every V Pokemon your opponent has, the Thunderous Kick gets rid of 1 colorless attack cost. So if your opponent has 3 Vs, you only essentially need 1 Aurora Energy, and you do 170. So this is good against decks like Gengar, Single Strike, all that kind of stuff, Eternatus. So this is why I keep it. And also, if you go against Jolteon and they have multiple Jolteons out, this is an easy one shot just for 1 energy. So that's what I like about it. And even if they only have 2 Jolteons, it still only costs 1 fighting energy, 1 colorless, and you can move 2 metal energies over there. And that's what makes this deck good. And we run 2 Mews from Celebrations. Mew has Mysterious Tail. So this actually gets to look at the top 6 cards of your deck and look for an item card. An item card, not a supporter, an item card. So if we need to look for our supporters, that's why we have Pokégear. Pokégear looks for our supporters. And of course, Duraludon can block all metal special energies, but that can be, stopped by Path to the Peak and stuff like that. And maybe sometimes it takes a little second just to get it out. That's why we run Zamazenta. If we know for a fact our opponent isn't running Path to the Peak, or nothing too crazy, and we don't have the Aurora energies in our hand at the moment, we use Zamazenta V. Zamazenta V has Dauntless Shield that prevents all damage done to this Pokemon attacks from your opponent's Pokemon VMAX. With that being said, this is actually a good wall to start off with. As our deck is not so aggressive as other decks, our deck is basically focused on defense. Zamazenta provides a really good wall starting off with and in between. So you have Durauldon Vmax, which prevents all damage from special energies, and then you have Zamazenta V to prevent all damage from Vmaxes in general. So this is a good wall to go in between. And then we have the Crobat for draw. If you are not aware of Crobat, Dark Asset allows you, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you get to draw up till you have 6 cards in your hand. So we're going to need that extra draw power. Because like I said, when you first look at it, there's a lot of things going on. And we need to go through our deck as fast as possible. Now let's get to the trainers. We run 3 Great Balls because if we're looking for something, we can literally just Great Ball and it's searchable by Mysterious Tail. Metal Saucers because Metal Saucers actually get the metal energies from the discard pile to our metal Pokemon on the bench. With that being said, once our metal Pokemon have those energies, then we can move it with Bronzong. So it's good to have it because that's 4 energies. If by some miraculous thing where you get 4 metal energies into your discard pile and use 4 metal saucers, now you have 4 metal energies to move around the board. We have our Pokégears that allow us to look for our supporters. Again, if you're attacking with Zacian, you know, Brave Blade does 230, but during your next turn, this Pokemon can attack. So we need to switch in and out. Also, another thing is, if our Duraludon is not evolved yet, or we have like Mew, Oranguru in the active, we actually have multiple switch cards. So what I like to do is I like to go into Air Balloon on Mew, search for what I need, retreat, and then go back to our attackers. So that's why this deck is really good at searching stuff out, preparing yourself to attack. We have 4 Quick Balls because depending on your matchup, you need to look for what Pokemon you need to find. If I'm going against nothing but straight up VMAXs, I'm going to get Zamazenta and Duraludon. If I can see a way where I can knock the opponent out really quick, I'm going with Zacian. If I have both of them and I need Bronzong to start moving energies, I'm getting a Bronzor. So you see, Quick Ball is really important in this deck. And again, it's searchable with Mysterious Tail. Mysterious Tail is so good in this deck that it can search for your key item cards. Again, we run 3 switches, so if you can't find a switch with Pokégear for Bird Keeper, you can use Mysterious Tail for switch. We have Air Balloons, which is also searched by Mysterious Tail. Mysterious Tail is so good in this deck that you can think about running 3. Get rid of the Oranguru and running 3, but we'll get to that later. And our stadium of choice is Crystal Cave. Crystal Cave actually heals our metal Pokemon and our dragon Pokemon, 30 for each turn. So we don't have to worry about the damage from Inteleon because we can heal that off. And that works with just about almost every Pokemon except our support Pokemon. Because if our support Pokemon get knocked out and we already set up, it doesn't even matter. Our main attackers are Zamazenta, Durauldon Vmax, and Zacian V. So those are the guys we gotta keep focused and keep them healed up. And for the supporters, we're running Bird Keeper. We're 3 copies because we want the switch ability and the draw cards. This allows us to draw 3 cards and switch with our active Pokemon. So if we're able to switch, we can get rid of the Mew from our active, put our Zacian up, and attack. It still draw 3 cards. So 3 cards is really good to draw. We run 2 Boss's Orders because Brave Blade does so much damage that you can easily, with Intrepid Sword from one turn, get 3 energies, Boss's Order the next turn, and knock out your opponent's key V Pokemon. And then we run Professor's Research because at some point, if you need to get rid of metal energies, that's the way to go. If you have excess Pokemon that you don't need, you get ready to storm away. And it allows you to keep going and drawing through your cards. Again, this deck is all about switching Pokemon out. So we have 2 Air Balloons. And if you see, we have 3 switches, 3 Bird Keepers, and 2 Air Balloons. That is literally 8 switch out cards. So we can back-to-back Brave Blade. We can Mew Mysterious Tail, get out of the active, and use our attackers to attack. So this deck is all about getting the energies onto the field and switching out with your key support Pokemon and attacking with your metal attackers. And for our energy count, we're running 4 Aurora energies, and if you don't know what that does, you can attach this card to one of your Pokemon only if you discard another card in your hand. You can combo this with the regular metal energy, throwing that away, and then Metal Saucer. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides every energy type but provides only 1 energy at a time. In this case, we're going to be using it to move with Bronzong because it's considered metal when we try to move it. And then when we have it on our Zapdos, it's a fighting energy. Our Duraludon Vmax, it's a fighting energy. And you can get even crazy with it. Use it for Crobat and do some damage with that too. That's the cool thing about this deck. You can even attack with Mew. Mew has a psychic and colorless, so you can use Aurora Energy and a Metal Energy. And that's the cool thing about this deck, right? Because of the Aurora Energy, you can start playing more cards that are different typing, and you can do a typage coverage. And if you don't feel like you don't want to play Oranguru, you can switch it out for something else. There's so many Pokemon that only have like Aurora Energy cost and then a colorless cost, and that are Vs that can attack. You can get that type coverage. Like, you know, you're going against a lot of Urshifus or a lot of Leafeons or something like that. You can literally just plug in something and then you can attack. That's the brilliant part about this deck. Again, we're using this more defensive, so that's why you see the more defensive type Pokemon with one straight up attacker. So that's the deck profile. Let's get into some games. Alright guys, so what happened was I started recording matches without my mic plugged in, so I'm gonna have to do a couple of voiceovers and just kind of go over the deck and kind of like go over this, like what I was thinking at the moment. So you can see I'm a little flustered because I kept losing the coin flip. It's kind of like a reoccurring thing when I play Duraludon. And our opponent's gonna go first. So we see the grass sleeves and we see the EV box. So we decided to play it safe, start off with Mew and use Mysterious Tail to try to find a Saucer or a Quick Ball or something like that. So we look at our opponent's mulligan, they're playing Mew VMAX. So definitely they shook us because we were thinking that we had Leafeon and we could have had the advantage on that. So hopefully we'll see what our opponent's starting with, and they start with 4 mulligans. Crazy. So we end up getting another Mew and a Professor's Research. So they do start off with a Mew. And starting off with the Mew isn't bad. I would prefer they get stuck with Genesect. They quick ball the boss's aura away and they pull out a Genesect. And we kind of look at our avenue of our approach. We have Zacian, we have boss's aura, we have Crystal Cave, we have Bird Keeper, and we have one Metal Energy. So they end up pulling another Genesect out and Fog Crystal. The Fog Crystal, they pull a basic energy. Alright, so now we're thinking, okay, well, they have the basic energy. We really can't block it with Duraludon. They Rotom, and I like Rotom in this deck because you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, pick one card, put it on top of your deck, and then Fusion Strike System to get that card you put up there. So you kind of essentially get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and put it in your hand. So it's good synergy with this deck. So our opponent kind of like weighs it in, puts the card in there. Fusion Strike System for 2 or for 1. And so far they're looking pretty good. They pass the turn. We end up getting a Metal Saucer, but like, how are we gonna get that Metal Energy into the discard pile? And we Mysterious Tails for a Quick Ball, which is dope. So we Quick Ball away that Metal Energy. And I believe I'm looking for a Duraludon. So we get Duraludon out. Play him. Metal Saucer for the free energy attachment. That's what I love about this deck. So now we're thinking about it. We end up putting Zacian down because Zacian is kind of like our draw support. We put the Air Balloon on. And now we're kind of debating what we're doing. So I end up putting the other Mew down. Bird Keeper and the Mew. Draw 3 cards. And then I can Mysterious Tail with the new Mew that's in the active spot. So I put down the Crystal Cave. Or I said Cycle at that point. A Pokégear just kind of thin out the deck. And Intrepid Sword. Unfortunately, we didn't get any Metal Energies, but we did get an Aurora Energy. So now we're looking a little bit better. Especially if we can draw a Metal Energy, then we can use Aurora Energy and then Metal Saucer. So that's an out we got. Just make sure to always look at your outs. Like, you may have a strategy, but sometimes it doesn't always work like that. So our opponent Fox Crystal for a Mew V. and Fusion Strike System for 2. And with that Fusion Strike System, they get a Capture Energy. And they played a Special Energy, which is good because now we're loading up our Duraludon to protect us from Special Energies. They get another Genesect, so now they have 3 Fusion Strike Systems. They use it for 2. And they get a Roam Foam. Like I said, this is getting better and better. The further you get into this game, the better Rotom Foam gets. Because now our opponent has multiple Fusion Strike Systems that they could literally just pick out what they want and then just go with it. So they play down the Latias. And now our opponent is trying to figure out what to do. At this point, they're kind of like owning the match. The match is in their favor. They got 3 Genesects on the field. They got a Mew backup ready to go. They have a Latias to use Latias' attack to protect them from VMAX damage. They bosses order up my Duraludon. They use Dino Barrier. So with Dino Barrier, if I evolve, I can't attack. At least do damage to them. And so now I have to discard a card. In this case, I'm going to discard Zacian because I don't want to overbench, and there's no point in having 2 Zacians. Especially if Mew can knock out a Zacian with Genesect's attack and a Vitality Band. So we end up using Switch for a Mysterious Tail. And we look at what we get. We have a Pokégear and a Great Ball. So we get the Pokégear. And what do we find? Nothing. See, that's kind of the issue I see with this deck. There's so many moving parts with this deck that sometimes you don't get what you're looking for. So we ended up Professor researched a lot of key cards, and it literally just ended us into nothing good. But we do have the Bronzong. We Great Ball. There's a Oranguru, but we see the Durauldon Vmax. So we don't want our opponent to boss us up again and attack us. So we end up evolving, so now our opponent can't attack us because they have a special energy. And to defend our deck for Intrepid Sword, we end up using Pokégear, grabbing the Bird Keeper. And we switched to the other Mew to use Mysterious Tail again. And we couldn't find it because we were looking for a Metal Saucer. So we end up at Intrepid Sword for 1 energy. We end up getting a Zamazenta and a switch, which is not too bad. Like I said, we have multiple switch outs, so we can use our Mysterious Tail and switch. So our opponent puts a Fusion Strike energy on Mew, evolves into Mew VMAX. So now our Duraludon is immune to that as well. Fusion Strike system for 4, which is big, and this is why Mew VMAX is probably the best tier, the best deck in this tier. It's like tier S because the amount of draw power that it has. So our opponent cross switches, retreats, and Fusion Strike system for 2 to get more cards because the deck just blows through their deck. They power tablet so they can Fusion Strike for 1, I believe. Yep, they Fusion Strike system for 1. So at this point, are they digging or what are they doing exactly? And they hit us with the best possible Marnie, because our hand has a bunch of cards that we don't need at this point. We have the Duraludon, we have the Zamazenta, or we have the Zacian. We don't need the Zamazenta. But in this case, we blocked the attack because our opponent didn't read the card. So we're good at this point. So we Great Ball, we fell it because we're going to start trying to lower our hand down so we can use Crobat. We get the Bronzor because now that we have multiple energies on the field, we kind of want to move them around. And then we Dark Acid for 5. So we got the energy, we have the Bronzong for next turn, and we have the boss's order. So if they try to escape us, We get rid of Zapdos because the Zapdos is not needed in this matchup. We do the 220, and now it's our opponent's turn. So right now we're looking pretty good. We have the boss's order, we have the Bronzong, we have a quick ball, and we have a switch. And there's many ways that we can do this, right? We can still just do damage, and then he retreats. We can boss's order. Exactly, he switches. So now we have the boss's order to bring that up. And if we wanted to switch attackers, we have the Bronzong in our hand, and we can switch the energies around. Again, we have the switch. We can switch in the Mew, Mysterious Tail, look for something, look like a Metal Saucer or something, so we're not missing our energy attachment for the turn. So you can see how many outs are in our field just right now. The issue is I see that we do overbench. Right now we have, our opponent has 6 prizes, and we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 prizes on our bench. Our opponent uses boss's order, so they kind of see the Bronzong play. Fusion Strike System for 2, and they use Dino Barrier, so they knock us out. And at this point, I believe our opponent doesn't think we can attack. So we are not really looking for anything at this point because our Bronzong play got diminished. And we end up just finishing up the Mew VMAX to get more cards in our hand. So we draw 3 prizes. Another Bronzong, unfortunately. Aurora Energy, which is dope. And a quick ball, which is not really needed at this point. Because our opponent only needs 5 prizes and we have 6 prizes on our bench. And Duraludon. Pokemon Catcher. Tails. Ball Crystal. For Mew. In that case, we kind of want to hope. Oh, never mind. There we go. We were kind of hoping that our opponent didn't play basic energies on their new Mew, but unfortunately, they just put a Fusion Strike energy. Unfortunate for them, actually. For us, that's actually really good. That means we can keep our momentum going with Duraludon. Peony gets rid of almost everything in their hand. And what are they looking for? A power tablet and a Pokemon catcher. They play the Pokemon catcher, and it's Tails. Now they're looking goofy. They power tablet. Fusion Strike System for a big whopping 6 cards. That's huge. And now we're all just sitting here. Like, my hand has like 6 dead cards. And we're going to see what's going on. Our opponent switches, gives us the Latios. Fusion Strike System for 1. And it's now our turn. So at this point, we really can't do much. We refuse to do much, so we're just going to attack. We're going to knock out this Latios. Now that brings us down to 2 prizes. And we get a Metal Energy, which is nice. So now that we have 2 prizes, we have multiple avenues of winning this game. So there's a Mew VMAX, there's a Mew V, and there's 3 Gen 6. So they're all worth 2 prizes. So now we don't have to waste our time using 2 turns to knock out Mew VMAX. And then instead, we can just boss up something, get 2 prizes, and end the match easily. So now our opponent quick balls for a Genesect. It looks like they felt they had a Genesect in their hand. So they were trying to shorten their hand so they can draw more cards. So now there's 2 Mew VMAXs. Our opponent Fusion Strikes for 1. Plays down Old Cemetery, so now we take damage if we play any energies on our Pokemon. Look at this discard pile. And they hit us with the Marnie. That's probably the best Marnie. Like, yeah, we needed the Oranguru and the Metal Energy, but it wasn't technically necessary. Because they couldn't knock us out, and we can probably win next turn. So we have the Zacian, Air Balloon, Great Ball, and Metal Saucer. And our opponent is sitting there trying to figure out what's going on. So the Fusion Strike System for 1. And they got rid of all their cards in their deck. So if they can't do anything or just do the minimum amount of damage, we win next turn. So yeah, they hit us with 160. We kind of want to play through it. You know, just kind of see where possible combos. We can't use Metal Saucer. We use Great Ball. We fail it. We Air Balloon. And we research to see what we get. We got the Oranguru, Metal Energies, Duraludon, Oranguru. So at this point, we exhausted all of our resources. We take the 20 damage, and then I finally realized that our opponent doesn't have any cards. And I just do the attack for 220, and it's our opponent's turn. They can't draw any cards, and they lose. So playing defensive in this game actually won us the match. So again, if you play defensive and watch your prizes, you could possibly get an easy win like that. Again, I wasn't recorded on this one, so I have to go with this too. So we start off with 2 Duraludons, and we play 2 Duraludons down because it doesn't really matter if we get escape rope, because it's another Duraludon. The cool thing is we're going against single strike. So if you watched my last video, single strike kind of like caves into this deck, at least to Duraludon. Our opponent Great Balls, they get 2 Houndours on their first turn, which is huge because that means they can accelerate 2 energies next turn. They end up playing Quick Ball, and our opponent is looking through their deck, and they grab an Umbreon for the boss up effect. They put down an Impact Energy. And they're like, okay, cool. So then we Quick Ball away the Metal Energy, and we look for our Zacian. Hopefully Adam's smart at this point. Alright, yeah. So now we grab our Zacian because we want to draw the cards, because we can't attack. That's a 3 energy cost. That's not possible. So we Metal Saucer into our Duraludon. We have the Bird Keeper. We're not really worried about it, but we're going to Intrepid Sword. Remember, Intrepid Sword is your draw power in this deck. So we end up getting 1 energy, a Great Ball, and an Oranguru, which is sick. It's exactly what we needed because we want to start attacking as soon as possible. Now we're only hoping we get a Metal Energy. That way we can discard it with the Aurora Energy and then use our Metal Saucer. Our opponent does a big research. They drop down the Tower of Darkness, which with this Metal Box we really can't abuse it. We really don't have any single strike Pokemon. Maybe if we get another Duraludon Vmax, then we can start using it. But again, that's only 2 cards. Our opponent evolves into Houndoom. Single strike Roar, adds 20, but then puts a special energy on him. Then puts another single strike energy. So our opponent could technically knock us out if they do the 50 attack, the 250 attack. And they get another Pokemon. They play another Gengar because they're ready to go. And then play another Umbreon. But instead they Fear and Panic. But only does 190 because Duraludon's ability reduces attacks by 30. So we Great Ball. And we couldn't really find anything. I was like, okay, cool. So then we Bird Catcher the Duraludon. We put the Aurora Energy. We throw away the Zacian because we only need 1. And we evolve. Now that we evolved, our opponent knew that the match was over and they quit. Because if they're not playing any basic energies, we practically win. So that's the cool thing about Duraludon. There you go, guys. You see it. Duraludon Vmax with Metal Box plays a little bit smoother than the Duraludon with Inteleon, and it has a favorable matchup against multiple decks, not just decks that run special energies. But in the case where you do run into decks that run special energies, you're practically winning. Or if they play something up their sleeve, they might have you in the corner. But this deck runs smooth, especially with Metal Box, and with the ability to use Bronzong to move different type coverages and everything. Unfortunately, we didn't get to use the Galarian Zapdos V, but as you see, the energy transfer, things are possible to play anything you want. Again, this deck is more defensive, and we try to hold our own instead of just knocking things out. But if we do need to knock things out, we probably have the best V in the game in our deck. And with Metal Saucers and Intrepid Sword, it's not hard to get the 3 Metal Energy requirement for this. Again, guys, I hope you like this Metal Box Duraludon deck. I know it's been here for a while, but now that Fusion Strike is all over the place, I think it has a place in the meta. Not tier 1, maybe tier 2.5. It's only good against if you know what you're going against, but it's definitely a good deck to play with, especially if you're learning how to play different Pokemon and decks with multiple Pokemon. So if you want to switch things out, maybe get rid of Oranguru, get rid of Zapdos V, and start adding like Marnies in there to get more cards. You know, you can add Evolution Incense just to make sure you get your Bronzongs and your Duraludon Vmaxes. This deck with Bronzong and Aurora Energy can just be changed all over the place. So I wouldn't doubt if there's multiple iterations of this deck. So again, guys, thank you for watching. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe. Follow me on my social medias in the bio. And I really appreciate all your guys' support. And if you find a better way or you got your own deck list, hit me up on PokemonCard.io. Link it in here in the comments so we can check it out. Again, have a great night, guys. Bye.